right. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is my new YouTube channel that I'm starting, Invest IQ. Since this is my first video, I guess I'll give sort of a background of what my goals are for this channel, and anyone that's watching this or if anyone has questions, we want to, or at least I want to try to help everyone in a way. Obviously not financial advice, but give my impressions, my journey as I've done this for a little bit and see if it applies to anyone else. If they want to apply a similar method, but obviously do their own diligence in the same time. So my goal for this is to start the channel, talk about different investing strategies as it pertains to portfolio income, stocks, ETFs, futures. So we'll get into about everything, but I kind of want to start off on a level ground initially of what I want to kind of speak about and then go on through different videos from there. But for this video, I just want to speak about the intro to a long-term portfolio. And if you're comfortable with the thought of having basically dividend-paying ETFs, so you can choose if it wants to pay you either an income or you're trying to have growth or you already have a 9 to 5 or whatever have you. So for me, I didn't like the idea of working a 9 to 5, so I found this strategy to work better for me, primarily using the YieldMax funds. And obviously, there is some NAV erosion that we'll talk about later and what that means. But the key here is we're talking about dividend reinvestments. So as they call it, DRIP, so dividend reinvested program. What you're trying to do is basically have your dividends pay back a loan if you do have margin, but what we're basically doing is we're trying to compound the investments. So as you can see on the screen, this is my dividend tracker, and it's basically tracking how many shares I have, how much the dividends are usually, and what the estimated income would be. So as you can see, my estimated average is around 63 to 6,600 a month. So you can see how that translates here and also the payout. So some dividends pay out a different amount. So you can see that for this month of January, there's different ETFs that pay out at different times. So this one pays out every week. So this YieldMax fund pays every week. So they have an X date and a pay date. And what an X date is the date that the dividend, the announced dividend, is subtracted from the share price. And then the pay date is the day after. So let's say that the X date was Friday of today, which is January 3rd, and the pay date is on Monday of the next week. So then you would get that dividend on the Monday of next week. So as you can see, I'm getting the dividend on every Monday for the YieldMax ETF that pays every week. Now I have another holding that is ULTY, and this is basically my driver ETF that drives the income. I want to have basically a setup where I want growth, I want, dividend paying assets that can pay me a good income, but I also want the account to grow over time, right? Because what's the point of having an account where, yes, you're receiving income, but your share price or your equity, in other words, is going down. So you want both of the same flavor of the cake rather than different pies of different things. So that was my goal for what I'm trying to do. Obviously, we're going to talk about different things in the future on basically using YieldMax, using margin, using Cornerstone, and we'll talk more about Cornerstone and margin later. But this is what works for me, and this is what I've seen that can continuously pay pretty good income and not have too much difference in the share price or difference in the payout. So from my analysis, that's what I like. So as you can see here, this is YieldMax, and as I said before, the weekly payouts are right here, as you can see, and these are about the dividends that they pay out usually. Now for me, I looked up and figured out the average paying dividend for this ETF was right around 20 to 22 cents per share. So you can do the math on how many shares you would like to have, and then you can kind of figure out or game plan what your income would be every week from this ETF. I've also done the same with this one of YieldTY, and this again, this pays out every month rather than every week. So I believe it's the second week of every month they pay out. So again, it's the same example. You can see all their prior dividends every month, and you can gauge what the average price is. I would say the average is around 80 to 85 cents for this. So again, you can gauge how much you might want to get paid out and then multiply by how many shares you want. So you can kind of see where the analysis is forming in terms of what you're trying to do, but this is how it applies to me. And what else do we have here? Let's see. The last thing I want to speak about, actually, there's two more things I want to speak about, but this is the compounding factor that I was speaking about previously, where we're speaking about the DRIP, so the dividend reinvestment program. If you did this for a year and didn't touch any of the shares, you didn't take the money out if you were paid out a dividend, at the end of the year, you'd have $113,000 off of $60,000 initially. I don't know of any current investments. So you could do UDAL, you could do UPRO, you could do anything that's in the S&P or something along those lines. But that growth is astounding to me that you could get out that kind of results just based off of reinvesting your dividends. So you can see how it can go from year 1 to year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. So at year 5, this is a crazy amount where you're going from 60 grand to 800,000 and ending the year at that amount, you're at 1.6 million. So I don't know of any other way you can approach this other than this, but obviously you want to do your own due diligence. You want to figure out how this can work to your benefit. So let's do ULTY in the same example. So you can have a driver factor and an income factor as well. So let's do the same amount of 60,000. Share price, different amounts. Let's do an average of 81 cents monthly. Share price growth. It's been pretty consistent since their prospectus recently updated. So let's say that their share price growth is 1.34%, just to keep it steady. We don't need any additional investment because the DRIP is on. No. Monthly. So let's do 5 years instead of 10 years and see the growth. So this is ULTY, the YieldMax dividend paying ETF. So year 1, $60,000. And at the end of the year, if you didn't touch anything, you'd have $166,000 in equity of your portfolio. So you can see, obviously, from our previous example of YieldMax, you're 5 years later, 3.4 million, and at the end of the year, you're at 9 million. So you can really start compounding quickly with this method, and I wanted to make sure that I started speaking about this to some degree, and we'll speak more about it later in depth, but I want to give, again, a basis theming to how this strategy can work for you. But obviously, again, you have to do your own due diligence. And you have to figure out what your goals are. Do you want growth? Do you want income? Do you want to make sure that your family is taken care of, or you can pay bills, or whatever have you? So that's basically what I want to speak about. And again, we can see the graph of in the last 3 years or 3 months, ULTY and YMAX reinvested with all the dividends. You'd be in the green 5,600 and in the green 6,100 just in the last 3 months. So again, do your own due diligence, figure out what works best for you, and we'll speak about more of this strategy, how we can use it to grow stuff, how we can grow income, how we can also use different paying assets like Cornerstone. We'll talk about Cornerstone in a little bit. So I think that's really all that I want to speak about in this video and what my goals are. I'm trying to just basically get this income up to about 10,000 a month based off of the DRIP, based off buying more assets. But every video that I make will speak about this. We'll speak about any day trading activities that I have, because I also do that on the side. I also do futures. So we'll talk about all those specifics. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Please let me know anything that you're curious about, because we'll go through everything in this channel. We'll go through this dividend income conversation. We'll go through futures. We'll go through reading candlesticks. We'll go through MACD. We'll go through day trading, different brokers you might want, different investment strategies that may or may not work for you or that you're curious about. So again, if you have any comments, please let me know, and we'll talk more in the next video. Thank you.